Zack Ryder, welcome to Toronto. How are you finding SummerSlam week?
Oh, it's great so far. Beautiful day in Toronto. Yeah, I just got in yesterday, so I'm excited.
I mean, you guys aren't on the card. Is that something that is pushing you to do better and keep going for getting on Survivor Series or the next one?
I mean, it's disappointing to come here and not be on the show, but at the same time, we're here. You know, we could be at home, but we're here. We get to meet our fans. We get to do these interviews, and of course, it motivates us to be on the next show.
I mean, a question I wanted to ask you was, you had the year of your life in 2011. But also 2016 wasn't a bad one for you either.
No.
Which would you say was personally more satisfying?
Ooh, I mean, 2011 with all the YouTube stuff was cool because I built something up from the ground up. Literally started the year as nothing, not even on TV, and ended as the U.S. champ. So that was great. But then, 2016? You know better than I do.
Yeah, 2016.
2016 won the Intercontinental title at WrestleMania. Like, how do you top that? You can't. So I would have to say, just for that IC title win, that was the better year.
I feel like storytelling-wise, you got a lot of a chance to really show your personal side. You came out about your battle with cancer, and also you got that storyline for the US title as well. I mean, it seemed like you really came into your own around it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, I think a lot of the people who followed me on social media and stuff like that, knew my deal, knew my story, but I got to tell it on WWE TV, so that was cool.
Do you feel happy with the authenticity that you can give your character?
I feel like I'm definitely one of those people where the fans, they know, they can see right through me. They know who they see on TV is who I am, like, behind the camera. So that's really cool that I think the fans get to connect with me a lot easier than they do with the other guys. So that's cool.
Yeah, what did it mean to you to win that championship, the tag team titles with your best friend for so many years, your roommate, the guy you started with in the Indies? What did that mean to you, that moment at WrestleMania this year in your hometown?
Yeah, it was
pretty much.
Yeah, it was great to win the tag team titles with Curt Hawkins. I mean, we started in WWE together, and we took a break, like a 10-year almost break, and I never really thought we'd ever get back together. I never really considered it, but the stars aligned, and it was just it was fate that we got back together to win those titles at WrestleMania, hometown. It was awesome.
Do you still believe that the WWE Championship, getting that Grand Slam, is a realistic possibility?
I mean, why not? Because if I don't believe it, no one else is gonna. So before I won the Intercontinental title, nobody thought I could do that. Before I won the U.S. title, nobody thought I could do that. And before we won the tag team titles this year, nobody thought we could do that. So I've made a career of proving people wrong, and I intend to do that again.
Why did you choose to keep your battle with illness private and not really discuss it so much?
It's not that it's private. If people ask me, I talk about it. But there's really that's really it. So if you ask me about it, I'll talk about whatever I want. It's not something I'm ashamed of by any means. Because if anything, using WWE, like, it sounds cliche, but that was my way of getting through it. I can't let this bring me down. I gotta get past this because I gotta be a WWE superstar. And, like, that's really what drove me during that rough time period.
I mean, is the podcast that you've launched with Curt Hawkins? I mean, it's incredible. I've listened to it on the plane over here. Is that a really fun creative outlet for you to you're guaranteed you're getting an hour every week.
Yeah.
To get yourself out there and talk about something that you really are passionate about.
Right. That's exactly what it's a creative outlet. So Hawkins and I, we would talk about these figures anyway. So why not put it out there and be entertaining and build this fan base? And it's been really cool to we do live shows. We have our own merchandise. So it's cool to, let's say I want to create this T-shirt. I don't have to ask for approval with anybody. I just ask myself, like, hey, Matt, you think it's a cool shirt? Yeah, I do. Let's make it. So that part's really, really cool.
Have WWE been more accommodating than they were in 2011?
So this is completely, Matt and Brian. It's our own thing.
So was the True Long Island Story at the start?
Well, I was doing it as Zack Ryder.
Right.
So that's the, that tricky slippery slope that I got to walk here.
Did you learn a lot from that experience?
I learned a lot from that experience, yeah, for sure. And it's cool because with the YouTube back then, YouTube's still popular now, so it's cool, like, stuff then that I learned, like, whether it was, like, video editing or even just, like, how to plug things on social media. It's now helping me with this podcast, so it's great.
And it must be so exciting to get to spend so much time outside of to get to show something else in your life that isn't it's WWE related, but it's not Zack Ryder. It's very much Matt Cardona.
Right. It's just a different side, a different layer, if you will. So it's like I said, it's something Hawkins and I would talk about and BS about anyway. So why not share it with the people? And if they're entertained, awesome. And they seem to love it.
What's the highlight? Is it the Intercontinental Championship or was it WrestleMania this year?
Career highlight?
Yeah.
IC title, 100%.
And there's a story that goes around online, but I've never actually heard anyone talk about The Miz backstage at WrestleMania. Is there any truth to this about how he fought for you to become champion that night?
If he did, that's the first I'm hearing about it.
It's a rumor I read online a lot, but I've never found the source for it.
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, what was that moment like when you were told this, or when you were on top of that ladder and you're looking down and you've got the title in your hand, and it's after all this struggle?
Yeah, it was so great because like that was the moment that I always wanted, was to win a title at WrestleMania, and to win it at the biggest WrestleMania of all time at the time, win the IC title. Then my dad slides in the ring. It was just a perfect night.
How important is your parents' support in your career?
Oh, it's great. You know, they would. I wouldn't say they would allow, but they knew I had a little backyard wrestling league going on the trampoline. You know, and they would bring me to all the shows and buy me all the action figures. So it's super cool that they're so supportive and that they've always been there for especially my big wins, which is really cool.
A lot of superstars like to keep their personal life private. You're very open with your relationship, and you know, working. It must be nice to be in a relationship with somebody who's also in the business and knows what you're going.
Yeah, you know, I told myself I would never date anybody in the wrestling business, but it just kind of worked out. And I feel like now with social media, you know, everyone kind of opens up a bit, and I think that's what makes my character, I guess, so relatable and so unique, is that like people they're like, oh wow, this guy collects action figures, so do I. This guy, goes to the theme parks, and so do I. This guy, and I think that started with the YouTube show back in the day when I let people into my life and made like my dad a character or my friend's character and stuff like that.
Is there any update on Toys That Made Us? Has that beef been squashed?
That beef has not been squashed. Toys That Made Us. Woo! Let's not get started on that.
But you did squash the beef with Sam Roberts over there.
Sam Roberts is here? Yeah. That Stoic the Clown hair, no, I'm kidding. I love Sam.
What is it about figures that enthralls you so much?
I don't know. I mean, as a kid, I loved it, obviously, playing with the figures and, having my little fantasy wrestling figure feds. But now it's something I just never grew out of, and I always kept collecting them and collect them. And now it's cool that there is an adult community out there. Kids who grew up and maybe were embarrassed to say I still collect. Now it's a whole community that they make figures just for adult collectors. So it's cool that there's figures for kids, adult collectors. I love it.
Well, what's the current collection you're working on? Is there anyone you're specifically looking for at the moment on eBay?
No. So I'm always looking for like rare, prototype, pre-production stuff. So there's stuff out there that I don't even know about. And that's what's so cool.
It must make it even more exciting that when you get your own figure made.
Oh, there's nothing better than that. I love when I get new figures, especially like I've had a bunch, but even if I get a new one, like if they make one this year, I'll still love it. It never gets old.
What's your favorite Zack Ryder figure?
My favorite Zack Ryder figure is the one that had the internet title, which was really cool because I never wore that on WWE TV. So Mattel actually had to ask me permission to make it, which is pretty cool.
I mean, that's actually something I needed to ask you about. Is there any of them lying around the house? Because I can't find any of them on eBay.
No, they're pretty rare. I only have one, and I'm actually looking for another because I have like an emergency stack of like, I have the ones on display, and then like my just in case ones, and I don't have a just in case one of that. Yeah. So I need one. If you got one, hit me up.
Because I was looking on the Wrestling Universe when I was in New York, and it was like $80 or something.
Wrestling Universe, great store. I love that store.
Yeah. What's the ultimate goal for you? Is it the WWE Championship? Is it that glory? And how do you see yourself getting there?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the WWE Championship is it's the goal, 100%. But at the same time, I feel like if I never got there, I'd be very satisfied with the career I've had. I'm very proud of the career I've had, scratching and clawing for everything, and nothing ever came easy. And I think the fans know that. And when I do win something, the fans appreciate it just as much as I do.
Actually, I did want to ask. It's something that you probably don't get asked about a huge amount, but the Hall of Fame. Is that something that you are interested in when you're done in getting into the Hall of Fame? I mean,
hell yeah!
I would imagine with the amount of title wins you've had that you'd be a shoo-in.
I never really thought about that. I mean, if they want to put me in, that'd be great. Of course, I'd be honored, to be in there. I do think
you deserve it.
I do think I've contributed some things like, not that I didn't invent social media. There's no, I wasn't the first one to use it. But I definitely think I was the first person to use it to my advantage and show the company like, hey, like, it's not just what's on TV. Like, people can make themselves. Yeah. And I definitely take credit for that. I'm proud of that.
Because I genuinely think with the contributions you've made, and also with the stuff that you've done on screen, you've won every title except for the WWE Championship.
Yeah, like I said, I never really thought about it. Of course, I'd be honored, but it's not necessarily a goal of mine. Like, if it happens, it happens. I would say the WWE Championship is definitely the goal because, I mean, course, growing up as a huge wrestling fan, that was the #1 title, and it still is.
Has being engaged put things kind of into perspective personally, that you're not so concerned all the time about like creative in wrestling or about whatever?
I mean, being engaged is great. Don't get me wrong, but I learned to like appreciate like my life and be grateful for things like long before Chelsea. Chelsea's awesome, and I think like she's the same way, so it's a perfect match.
All right, thank you very much for the time.
Appreciate it. Thanks.